Good. So, hello everybody. I'm Aniket and I'll be hosting a session for today about Mecha Hacker Cup and everything about it. So, let's start. In the beginning, I would like to give a brief introduction about myself. So, I'm Anikate Koul and I'm currently rated 1875 at Codeforces, 5-star at Code Chef. I'm also an ICPC regionalist and I have attained a rank of 21 in the recent ICPC Kanpur regionals. And I have also been ranked 95 at the TCS Code Vita round 2, season 11. That was the previous season. So let's start now. I hope all of you are excited. So before asking the question that what is Meta Hacker Cup and all the details about it, I would like to ask you guys that how many of you have attempted these type of annual contests before. So for now, the main contest is Meta Hacker Cup, but till previous year, we had other contests as Google Code Jam, Google Hash Code, Kickstart, and everything. So, have any of you attempted those contests as well? I would like to know. Okay, so never attended. No. Okay, there's no issue with it. I'll be covering all the details from the basics. So, and for the update that all those hash code, Kickstart, and Code Jam had been discontinued by Google. So for now, Meta Hacker Cup is one of the only biggest annual coding competitions which is conducted by these software giants. So that makes it even more special as to why you must attend it. So yeah, Meta Hacker Cup, as I said, is an annual global programming competition hosted by Meta, that was previously Facebook. And as I said, it is a very prestigious competition, not only because it is held by Meta, but also because it is well recognized by programmers all over the globe. So all the great competitive programmers that you might recognize from Code Chef, at Coder, or Codeforces participate in these contests, and hence, if you get a good rank, that is a valid indication of your skill and bragging right as well. Now, coming to the point that why should you give Meta Hacker Cup? So as I said, it is a very prestigious and honored competition. So any ranking that you get in this competition is welcomed, you can say, by people all over the globe. And also one of the most, I would say, interesting thing as to why people give Meta Hacker Cup is you get a T-shirt. So till the previous year, the rule was that you have to qualify for round 2. So there is a uh, usually there is a points barrier. So you have to score at least a given amount, let's say X amount of points in round 1. And after that, you qualify for round 2. And if in round 2, till the previous year, it was top 2000 people. So if you rank in the top 2000 people all over the globe, then you get yourself a Hacker Cup t-shirt. Obviously, that is a great bragging right. And uh, most of the coding platforms that are there today don't have these opportunities where you can win goodies. Codeforces has a very few, like the sponsored rounds, but there you have to rank like top 20 or top 50 globally to get a chance at a t-shirt. But here, uh, it is a very good number. That is 2000. So that is a achievable number. And if you practice good enough and you have a good day, you can get yourself a t-shirt. So that is one of the most interesting parts, and that was one of the biggest part as to why I started giving Meta Hacker Cup. How to register? I'll see if somebody has a doubt. Yeah, comparing to Codeforces and everything, I'll get to that. So I'm going step by step. So first we'll see how to register for this competition. So I'll be sharing this PPT and it has all the links, so you don't need to worry. And I'll share this in the chat as well. So you can click here. I'll copy this link and paste it in the chat as well. Yeah, this is the registration link for the practice round that begins today at 10:30 p.m. And you should also register for the round one. So this is the round one, and you need to have a Facebook profile. So that is a prerequisite for registering. So if you don't have one, you can create a Facebook profile and then register for it. And I'll send this one as well. So this one is for the round one. You can register for both of them. Where is saying he was not allowed to make a Facebook profile. So you don't need to worry. You can tell your parents that I'll get a free t-shirt. The next part is, as I said, the practice round is beginning today evening and the round one is on October 5th. So remember the timing. The timings are a bit odd because it happens according to the Pacific timing, according to the US times. So that's why, according to IST, it becomes quite late. So it starts at 10:30 p.m. the round one, and it goes on till 1:30 p.m. 1:30 a.m. actually. It's a 3 hour long contest. So it may be a odd time for a lot of you guys, but yeah, you have to manage. Great. So I'll move on to the next slide then. As I shared both the links for practice round and round one. And let's come to the part where how to prepare. So I'll be hopefully clearing all your doubts that you had currently and that you may have in the future. So the first thing is knowing the differences between the usual contests that you give, like at coder, Codeforces, Code Chef, Lead Code, and how is it different from Meta Hacker Cup? So the first main difference that comes to my mind here is that unlike other coding competitions where you run your code on their server, here it happens that you write your code and then you have to download an input file. So that input file is quite large. It can mimic the input files that Codeforces or CodeChef has on their servers. But the difference here is that you download that input file and then you run it locally. After you run it locally, you have to generate an output file as well, and then you submit that output file. So you're not running your code on their servers, but actually you're submitting an output file against their input file. That is one of the biggest difference in Meta Hacker Cup. The second main difference comes is that the Meta Hacker Cup does not give immediate feedback to your solutions. What I mean by that is, whenever you submit on Codeforces or any other platform, you get an accepted or wrong answer or TLE or runtime error verdict. But in Meta Hacker Cup, you get that verdict only after the contest finishes. So let's say you wrote a code, downloaded the input file, ran that input file, got an output file, submitted it. Now you don't know whether your code got accepted or not. You will get to know it only after the contest ends. So that makes the contest even more tricky and interesting because until the end of the contest, you're not sure that have you scored the points for that question or not. So what happens usually is once you submit, it shows your probable points. So you will get the points for that problem at that point of time. But after the contest ends, all the solutions will be judged. By solutions, I mean the output files, and the rank list may shuffle because some solutions may get rejected and it may happen that your rank goes up or goes down. So that makes it a lot more interesting. And as a few people asked, how does it compare with the Codeforces Div 2 round? So the first question I would say is similar to a Div 2B. So it is not very simple like a Div 2A. You need to think for a bit, but the first question is usually something like do what the problem says. So it may have a bit of implementation, but the logic is usually not very complex. So you can assume it to be a div 2b, 1000 rated or 1100 div 2b, not greater than that. As for the later questions are concerned, uh, it may happen that the problem ratings increase drastically or they may increase gradually as well. It actually depends a lot from year to year. But you can safely assume that at least two questions are doable at whatever level you are. So you can aim for that. And another special thing about Meta Hacker Cup is a lot of problems. So in Codeforces, very rarely have a subtask, but in Meta Hacker Cup, almost always, at least one of the problem has subtasks, sometimes two, and sometimes even three subtasks. So at the later part of the session, I'll be also uh, like telling you how to submit a problem. So we'll see there as well. And that question will have three subtasks. So I'll only solve the first one. But that is also an indication. And also a general advice is that let me, okay, I'll get that advice once I reach that question. For now, let's move to the next part. Yeah, this is a very important part. So before starting this, I would like to tell a brief story. So it is basically a bit of a sad story. So what happened with me last year was, uh, okay, I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you the rankings. So 2023. Internet is a bit slow, I think. So let's see my ranks. Okay, does not show. So some of you might see that around 30 minutes. That was because there were some technical issues. So they increased the timings by 30 minutes. So that may happen, but usually it's 3 hours long. So what happens in round two is, as I said, the top 2000 people get a chance at the team. They're guaranteed a t-shirt, basically. So if you see my rank, it's not visible. Why isn't it showing my rank? Uh, is the scoreboard visible? Yeah. Yeah. So I got a rank of 2268. So I missed the t-shirt by 200 rank. And what was the even sadder part was, if you see the verdict in my A2 version, so it was submission timer expired. So what happens in Meta Cup is, once you think that your code is ready, you run it on the sample cases, just like Codeforces. And when you're ready to submit, you click on a button, and then it shows you a bit larger set of sample cases, and you can run it on those sample cases. And if it works on those cases, then you can download the input file. Now, when you download an input file, a timer starts. So usually the timer is around, I don't remember properly, it is around 4 to 8 minutes. So that is the time which starts when you download the input file. So once you download the input file, you have that X amount of time to run the code locally and then generate an output file and submit that output. So what happened with me was, uh, I wrote a recursive solution. So I wrote a DFS basically for A2, and for the sample cases, it was running perfectly fine. And when I clicked on the button to submit, it gave me a larger set of samples, and it was running fine on those as well. But when I downloaded the actual test case file, that is actually very big. So uh, it may have like 10 power 5 test cases. So it's a very big file. So when I downloaded that file and tried to run it, my solution was not giving an input. So that was most probably due to a runtime error. I was not able to debug because I thought it would be a segmentation of fault or a bug in my code, because of which the code is not running properly. And I was not able to debug it within that given time limit, and it showed me the verdict that submission timer expired. So when after the contest ended, I tried to figure out what was the issue with my code, and I realized that uh, my code was perfectly fine. The issue was that the stack space in my local machine was limited, and because I was running a recursive solution, it was giving a stack overflow. But the point was, uh, the stack limit in a machine is quite low if you compare it to an online judge like Codeforces or Codeshift. So if Codeforces gives you a memory limit of, let's say, 256 MB, uh, usually it is around 64 to 32 to 64 MBs in your local machine. It depends actually on the flags using which you're compiling your code, but it is not usually 256 MB. So the problem with my code was that I just had to expand my stack space, and then the code ran perfectly fine. So that's why I included this point to set up your local ID and compile. So yeah, it was a very big story for a simple point, but uh, it was a very bad experience for me, and I want that it does not happen with you guys as well. So once I researched that how to improve or increase your stack space, it comes down simply to a basic template that you can include in your code. So I'll be sharing this with you as well. Some of you might know who Noor is. So he's an Indian master. He's very popular on Codeforces. So he wrote a great blog on how to increase your stack size for MetaHacker. I'll be sharing this link with you as well. Chat. Yeah, we can refer this link. Okay. Great. So what this code is basically doing is, before running your actual code, it is increasing your stack size to 1 GB, which is more than enough. So if your code will run properly on an online judge like Codeforces, it will run in an comfortably in a 1 GB stack space. So another problem that is that in online judges as well, if you go to like custom invocation Codeforces, they have a limit on the input file that you can run. So sometimes if you don't increase the stack size as well, you have very limited options to run your code on that given file online. So you have to run it locally, and that's why it becomes very important to improve your stack space, especially for recursive solutions. For iterative, it does not matter much, but for recursive solutions, it's very important. So what you need to do is you just need to copy these two functions. So you need to replace your int main function with this function, and this will be the another function that is called, which will actually increase your stack space, and this will be your let's say the new main function. So whatever you would write in your original main function will be written here. So I'll be demonstrating how to use it as well in a few minutes. With that. And the second important thing is to set up your input output uh, template as well, because the input that you will receive is by a txt file, and you also have to submit a txt file into the website. So it is very important that you know how to take input from a file and output into a file. So I'll be showing you that as well, how to set up it. And to demonstrate that, I'll be using a sample problem from the 2021 MetaHacker Cup. Okay, let's go to this problem link. So as I said earlier, this problem had 3 subtasks. So you will see here that you have A1, A2, and A3. The problem name is weak typing, and you have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. The problems are a bit similar, but the it becomes a bit more complicated and the constraints get a lot tighter. So that is the difference. And as I mentioned a bit earlier, I would give you advice. So that advice is, if you see here, A1 is 10, A2 is 14, A3 is 21, and B is 18. So it is not necessary that all the questions may be in sorted order of difficulty. Yes, for let's say a given problem. So A, B, and C. If I'm not considering the subtasks, A1 will be easier than B1, will be easier than C1, that is guaranteed. Also, that A1 will be easier than A2 and A2 will be easier than A3, that is also guaranteed. But what is not guaranteed is that A3 would be easier than B. That is not guaranteed. So it may happen, if you are not aware, that you may try A3 and you may leave B. So I would always suggest you that read all the questions, because it may happen that the B problem might be actually easier than A3. So don't get stuck on a problem thinking that the next one would be even harder than this. It may happen that the next one is actually easier. And the biggest hint to that would be the number of points assigned to it. So if the points assigned are lesser, that would mean in most of the cases that the problem is also easier, or the intended solution for it is easy. So now I think we can submit this problem. And during this process, I'll be showing you what all to include on your uh, template and everything. So I hope everyone is with me for now. Yes. Abhay was asking, so we can actually assign more space to ourselves. Yes. So more space, like you can't assign more space than the RAM you have on your computer, obviously. But yes, the stack space is limited to a certain value, and that most of the times depends on the compiler that you're using and the flags using which you're compiling your code. So I would suggest you to use this template because it assigns a constant value, and that value is good enough to solve any problem uh, if you're using recursion, given the fact that uh, it is under the given time constraints. So it is not that you're trying to run an intended n-square solution into an n-cube solution. So if you do that, obviously it will give you a runtime error, even if you have 1 GB stack space. So take care of that. And Gurkirat has asked me, yeah, so that is the error because you have defined two functions, int main and void main. That's why it is giving the error. So I'll show you how to actually incorporate this template into your own so that it runs perfectly fine. Yeah, as Advik said, it has to be main underscore. Uh, so I would suggest everyone to look at my screen for now. You can compile afterwards as well. And if you have any doubt, you can write on the Discord channel that we have, and we'll be more than happy to solve your doubts. But for now, I would suggest you to look at my screen and try to understand what I'm doing so that you can recreate that for yourself. Great. So first of all, let's solve our problem. So let's read the problem, see what's it saying, and then we'll develop a logic and then we'll code it. So the problem says that Timmy the toddler is training to be a top typist. His teacher has assigned some homework in the form of a list of T string exercise to be typed consisting of only the uppercase letters F, O, and X. Timmy is eating a popsicle on a hot summer afternoon but still hopes to complete his homework. He would like to hold the popsicle with one hand and type with the other. Unfortunately, Timmy is still a growing boy and each of his hands is a tad too small to reach all the way across the keyboard. He can only reach the letters F and X with his left hand and the letters F and O with his right. Okay. So consider a string W uh, which Timmy must type. Timmy may start typing with any hand of his choice. with the other hand holding the popsicle. He must then switch hands as necessary to type out the length of W letters in order, ending on any hand of his choice. Great. So given an exercise string W of length n, let f of W be the minimum number of times Timmy must switch hands to type W. Please help Timmy compute the value of f of W. So let's first understand what the problem is trying to say. I will explain it here. Great. So what the problem is saying is that let's say you have a string and the string is set to consist of only three letters, that is F, yeah, right, F, O, and X. It will consist of only these three letters, and we also know that Timmy can type. Let me see again. What can he type? He can type only F and X with his left hand and F and O with his right. So we know that if he's currently on his left hand, he can only type F and X. So this he can type using his left hand. He can type it using his left hand. So this is clear. And if he's on his right hand, then he can only type F and O. He's on his right hand. He can type only F and O. Now, we have said that Timmy can start on any hand and end on any hand. So that is not an issue. But he wants to minimize the number of times he swaps hand. So let's say our string was F O X and then F X X O. This was our string. Let's say Timmy started on his left hand. Let's say he started on his left hand. So there is F. So he can type F with his left, no issue. But now he gets O. So that means he needs to swap his hand. So the number of swaps, let's denote it with the variable count. So the count will be 1 for now because here he swaps and goes to his right hand. Now he comes to X. Now again X, he cannot type with his right hand, so he has to shift again. So now he goes back again to his left hand and the number of switches goes to 2. Now he's on his left hand and now there is F and he can type F with his left hand, no issue. Again X he can type with his left hand, no issue. Again X, he can type it with his left hand. And now comes O. But O he cannot type it with his left hand, so he needs to switch again. And he'll go here. And the number of switches goes up to 3. So in this case, if he started with his left hand, he would have to switch 3 times. But let's see what would be the case if he would start with his right hand. This better to erase all these. Great. So I'll erase this as well. And let's now start with Timmy's right hand. Now, if he's starting with his right hand, he can type F. That is fine. And now he has an O and he can type O as well with his right. That is also fine. But now he comes to X. Now, if he's on X, he cannot type that with his right hand. So he has to go back to his left hand. He goes to x with his left hand, and let me initialize another variable. Let's say count 1, and that is equal to 1 because he switched once. And now there is f. He can type it uh, with his left hand, and x also with his left, again x with his left, and now he gets an O, and he has to switch once again to type O, and our variable will be incremented by 1. So you can see if he started with his right hand, he would have to switch only 2 times. But if he had started with his left hand, he would have to switch 3 times. So obviously, it is more optimal to start with his right hand in this case. Similarly, there might be a case where he would start his left hand. Let's say the string was F, X, 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 F. So if he started with his left hand, he would be able to type all these characters without switching. But if he started with his right hand, he would have to switch here. So there would be one switch. So obviously here in this case, starting with the left hand is more optimal. So you can understand. And as I said earlier, the first problem is quite easy. So you can see it here as well, that the solution to this problem is quite literally the brute force that I explained to you just now, that you can once start with your left hand and calculate the number of switches that you have to make, and then you can start with the right hand and calculate the number of switches you have to make, and the minimum of them is your answer. And if we see the constraints are that the sum of n across all exercises is at most 4 into n power 6. So we are running a solution in O of n, and that will run pretty fine. There is no issue with it. So we can now start coding it. So what I usually would suggest you to do is you write your basic logic, what you would write normally, and after that incorporate the template, and you're good to go. So let's write your logic here. And let's define our increment function as it is. And another thing that you need to take care is, as you can see, the output format is a bit different. So it is not just giving a simple number as an output. You have to also give the case number, case, and then hash the number of the test case, and then a colon, space, and then your answer. So you need to follow that as well. Keep that in mind. Great. So what I will do is I'll try to define another solve function for now. So I'll name it void solve. Here what I'll do is I'll take the input for every test case. So in each test case, as you can see, I'll have the length of the string and then the string. So I have the string, and then I will take the string as the input. And what I'll do is I'll define two variables, int count1 equals to 0 and count2 equals to 0. So what I would be doing here is count1 represents the minimum number of switches if you started with your left hand, and let's say count2 represents the minimum number of switches if you started with your right hand. So now what I'll do is I'll simply run two for loops. In the first for loop, what I would do is initially I have to maintain a variable which would tell me which hand I'm currently on. So let's maintain an int variable, int hand equals to 0. So if let's say if hand is 0, that implies Timmy is on his left hand. That means he's typing with his left hand. And if hand equals to 1, I would say that Timmy is on his right hand. Now I'll run my for loop for the entire length of my string, and if my s of I is equal to O. So another thing that you need to notice is that if the characters F, it does not matter from which hand you're typing it, because you can type it from either hand. So you don't need to switch for F in any case. You need to switch either in X or on O, depending on which hand you're currently on. So we don't need to check anything for F. We just need to check for X and O. So we know that if I'm on my left hand, I can type X, and if I am on my right hand, I can type O. So that is clear with us. So if S of I is O, then if I am on my what hand do I need to be? I need to be on my right hand. That means my hand should be, the variable hand should be equal to 1. But if it is equal to 0, that means I am on my left hand. That is not possible. So I need to switch. So I would say that hand is equals to 1, and count 1 would be incremented by 1. Similarly, if S of I would be X, that means I need to be on my left hand. So if my hand is right, that means it is 1, that means I'm on my right hand, then I would need to switch my hand, and again I would increment my count. So this is the case where I started from my left hand. Now I'll run another loop from where I start using my right hand. So what I'll do just now is I reinitialize my hand variable to 1. That means now I am starting from my right hand, and I will run this same loop again. I can just copy it and paste it here, because we'll do the same thing. If there is O, I need to be on my right hand, and if there is X, I need to be on my left hand. If there is, that is not the case, I just need to switch the values and increment. And here the only difference would be that I would be incrementing my count to variable, because this is the second case. And finally, I would be printing the value, that is minimum of count 1 and count 2. So what I can do here is in the int main function, I can take in the input of number of test cases, and for each test case, what I would do is first I would print the format, that is case and then the case number. So case and then hash and then my case number, and then I will simply call the solve function. I need to print a backslash n here. Great. So this is my code. So if I run it locally, so for now it is similar to what I would do on Codeforces, except for this part. If I comment this part, everything else is similar to what I would do on Codeforces. So what I'll do, I'll just check it on the sample cases, that if my code is running fine or not. I submit it. This run it here. My laptop is too slow. There is no while loop running, so there cannot be any finite loop. So that means my laptop is too old for this. No issue. You can see it is running fine. All the sample test cases are passing. And now, before submitting, I would incorporate the template. So what I would do is simply copy these 3 functions. Let's copy them and let's paste it here below my original int main function. function. So I'll tell you how to modify it. So let this int main function remain. Okay, don't touch it, and don't touch this function as well. Let them be as they are. Now what you do is, what you originally had in your int main function, that means this code, just cut it and just cut this code and paste it here in this main underscore function. Okay, and then just simply delete your original int main function, and that should be it. If I run my code again, it should run perfectly fine. Yes, it is running perfectly fine. So for any of you that were getting any errors, so this is the way how you run it. Now you have increased your stack space, but now comes the part two. The part two is where you need to take input from a file and then output into a file. So that is also very simple. For that, what you need to do is, in your new main function, so the main underscore function where you actually start your code, just include these two lines. Free open whatever the name of your input file is. Let's say my input file name is input.txt, and then I need to take input std in. I'll explain you what does this format actually mean. Then w and std. What this format means is, open the input.txt file in the same folder where your this current C++ file is. Because I have not mentioned the absolute path, it will search for this file in the current folder where from which it is executing. So search for the input.txt file in the current folder and open it in read mode. So I'll not edit that file, I'll be only reading it content. And what std in means is, read that content and act as if I'm reading from terminal. So like the standard input. So here you don't need to make any further changes. You can keep your C in and C out as it is. You don't need to change it to F read and F write, nothing of that sort. The C in and C out will work perfectly fine. And then this line is just the opposite. So open output.txt file in the same folder in which your code is running and open it in write mode. And then std out means similar to how your code would output the terminal. Now it will output to that file. So your scene and cout will remain exactly same, but now instead of taking input from your terminal and giving input out to a terminal, it will take input from a file, that is input.txt, and output into a output.txt file. That is quite simple. Now what I would do is, I would go to the file here. I hope everyone is with me currently. I would click on submit. So it is showing submit for practice because the contest is ending, but for you it would show there's a submit button. So what it says is, download the full input for this problem. For practice submissions, please note the input may contain a larger number of test cases than indicated in the problem statement. Step 2 is upload the output file produced upon running your code on the full input that is downloaded, as well as the source code. Each file must contain text content, but may have any file extension. If your solution depends on additional library files, please upload only a single main source code. For C++, it does not apply much. So I'll download the input file, and you can see it has started download. Now what I would do is, I would download it directly into the folder where I have my current C++ file. So I have it. Where do I have it? Yeah, I have it here, and I'll just replace it with input.txt. Yes, I want to replace it. It has started download. As you can see, it is a pretty big file. It's 2.3 MB file. I hope my VS Code does not crash once I open this. input dot txt, where are you? Great. So see if I do a control N, there are a lot of test cases and 116 to be exact. So now what I would do is I would simply run my code, click here, and it should start running, and it will run quite slow because laptop is also because I'm sharing my screen, so the rate ran quite fast. It's a miracle. Where is my output.txt file? I'll just output it. See. Yeah, it is showing 116 cases. That is great. That means I can submit it there. Output file is output.txt. Great. And my source code is, should I, okay. As far as I know, they don't run your code. So it is okay even if you don't remove your that uh, 5 input output line. So if you, even if you don't remove that, I think it should be fine. Let's submit it. Processing your submission, and my submissions, and it is accepted. Great. Details. Great. So this part won't be shown during contest. So it won't show you accepted verdict. It will just show you submitted verdict. And accepted or not accepted will be shown to you after the contest ends. That is a very interesting part. So I feel that every one of you is now familiar with the contest pattern and how to write their template and how to submit a solution. And the last part would be that I would like to share this feedback form. So it would be great if you can, if you could fill this feedback form, because it helps us to uh, improve our further sessions and understand what uh, we could do better. Why does it take so long to load? I'll copy this link and I'll send it to you guys in the chat. These take a few minutes of your time and submit it. Can we make multiple submissions? Yes, you can make multiple submissions, and your, as far as I know, your last submission would be counted. And no hacking. Yeah, no hacking. That is good. There are no hacks. Great. So any other doubts that you may have regarding Meta Hacker Cup? Can you tell about the overall difficulty level in terms of CFTIP? So I would say it is, you can't actually compare it to a Codeforces round because it has fewer problems. A comparison to Google Kickstart would be great, but you guys have not given that as well. So in terms of CF, it would be around div 1.5. So it is not as easy as a div 2, but again, it is not as hard as a div 1. So it would be somewhere between a div 1.5. How many submissions are there? Okay, you have given Kickstart. So yeah, it is similar to, I would say, Kickstart. So because Kickstart also has 4 problems. Rating range to practice. Again, I would give a disclaimer that it is a bit different from Codeforces, because Codeforces usually has a lot of constructive algo and maths based, but Kickstart relies heavily on algorithm based questions as well. So it would be a bit different. But if you are able to practice 1600 to 1700 rated problems, then you will have a very good chance at the top 2000 rank in round 2. I would say that. Negative marking for wrong submissions. The thing is that you don't know that the submission is wrong. So the negative marking for wrong submission doesn't make sense. Okay, so Gurkirat has shared, you have got an error, bad register name RSP. So Gurkirat, are you using Windows?
Yes, sir.
Topics? Okay, you're using Windows. So it should work fine. Uh, just a second. I will share my code and check whether my code runs on your system. I'll remove this in file input output. I'll copy this code and I will paste it here. You can submit only 1630,000 characters. I will create a paste bin link. Just wait for a few minutes. Paste bin. You create a paste here. You should share it. ये
हो गया सर.
हो गया, मतलब तुम्हारा कोड चल गया.
नहीं मतलब वो RSP की जगह ESP करना था. Someone replied in the chat actually.
Okay, great, great. So that is great. So I think most of those FAQs should be in Nor's blog as well. Use this here. Yeah, to use this on the, I think your 32-bit compiler. So because of that, this error was happening. Replacing RSP with the ESP works.
Yeah.
Great. Anyone has a doubt, you can refer this blog. I have shared the link, and also I'll also share the PPT, which also has this link. Any other, what is pastebin? Pastebin is basically you can paste anything, any text you want, and you can create a link and you can share it. The session is over. Yeah, the session is over. I'm just uh, clearing all your doubts. How many times can we submit our problem? So there was a number, but I'm not sure what the number was. It should reveal to us using a simple English. How many submissions are allowed in Meta Hacker Cup or problem? As many times as you. So there is a 6-minute time limit. Yeah. So within 6 minutes, you have to run your code, get an output, and submit the output, and you can do it as many times as you want. So just remember that you just have 6 minutes. So if the 6-minute mark crosses, then you won't be able to submit your output file, and you can't attempt that question again as well. So remember that. can we be informed about such more global contests? So another one for which the registration has started is Code Vita, TCS Code Vita. So again, let me open my browser and TCS Code Vita. This is also another global contest which is well recognized by people all over the globe. And another special thing about this is it is only open for people who are currently in college. So from first year to fourth year. So you have a chance of a even better rank, but you don't get goodies or some sort of those things. People are saying TCS. Yeah, Meta looks for interns, but the thing is, you have to get a really good rank, and people all over the globe participate in this contest. So you'll have all those legendary grandmasters participating. So it is very difficult to get such a good rank where you get recognized by Meta, but there is always such a chance. And if it does it consider according to their batch? So I don't think so, because in the registration anywhere they don't ask that are you a college student or when are you graduating. So I don't think there is a batch wise comparison. There would be a rating rank wise comparison. Again, I'm not sure what is the max ranking which they consider, because I don't think I'm qualified enough to answer that question. I haven't gotten such a good rank as well. Uh, it depends actually. And Advik was asking, will last submission be considered? Yes. As far as I know, the last submission will be considered as best. But the thing is, because it is not an immediate feedback round, after submitting, you don't know that it is correct or not. So it is very difficult for you to submit once within the 6 minute range and then come up with another logic and then again run your input file on that and submit another file. So usually people are able to submit only once. But I think the last submission is a best submission. Does Meta Hacker Cup happen more than once in a year? No, it happens only once and around this time as well, only ending in September or October every year. So that makes it even more special because you have only one chance in a year. After first submission, you can submit only for max. No, no, not for the first submission. After downloading the input file, you have 6 minutes. After you download the input file, you have 6 minutes to make a submission. So it is not like after you make a submissions, you get 6 minutes more. It's not like that. After the 6 minute mark, the problem just closes and you cannot make any more submission. So keep that in mind. So yeah, person with the Metacare Cup t-shirt and did not get an interview because you get a t-shirt at top 2000 rank, and obviously Meta won't be considering 2000 people. It would be a very few of the top people, and those top people don't usually even consider those companies. They're not interested in joining companies. I would suggest at your level, uh, you can aim for Meta. There's no issue. You should always aim big, but uh, my suggestion would be it should not be your only motivation to give this contest, because you can gain a lot of experience from here, and the ranking that you get here also helps you uh, in future endeavors as well. So that should be your uh, motivation, according to me. Great. Then, if you don't have any more doubts, we are good to close this session. And I hope everyone like this session. Yeah.
So can you tell me how we should practice for this?
So uh, all those previous year problems are there. You can practice there uh, in practice those problems, because these type of problems are a bit different from what you get in Codeforces or any other platforms. So it would be better to practice on their platform only, like how I just showed you. So you can go to any previous year contest and solve a few of them. And even today you have the practice round. So once you solve the questions, you will get a gist of how the problems are and how you can tackle them in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Asking, but if you submit the output file in 6 minutes, then the problem is not logged. Yes, the problem is logged anyhow. So even if you make a submission within 6 minutes and the 6 minute mark is over, then you can't make another submission. So after once you download the file and 6 minutes have passed, then the problem is permanently logged and you can no longer make any submissions. It does not matter that if you had made previous submissions on. That is the case. That's why I was telling that long story that how I missed my Hacker Cup T-shirt because of Stack Overflow. So, does it show the timer? Yeah, it shows the timer. Once you download the file, because I was in practice, it did not show the timer. But once you are in the contest, and even for the practice round, I feel it will show the timer. So once you download that file, the timer will start. You don't need to worry about it. So I can spend as long as I want before downloading the input file. Yes. So timer starts only after you download the input file. Great. Then any further doubts? Yes, you should download the input file only when you are ready with your logic and you are sure that you have solved it. Also run it on some of your edge cases of your own and be completely sure, because most likely you will not get another chance. It is very difficult to come up with the edge case within the 6 minutes and then again run it and submit it. This is the difficulty of A2. The A2 must be 1500 or above, not less than that. Because the A2 problem, if I show you that, one the A2 problem is quite similar, but what you need to do here is you need to give the sum of f of w for every possible substring of your string. Let's say my string was FFOFF. So your first substring is F, then another substring is FF, another substring is FFO. So for all those substrings, the minimum value, you have to take the sum and give the mod with 10 power 9 plus 7. And you have to do it in around n log n complexity. This is definitely not a straightforward problem, and it is at least 1500 to 1600. Yeah, there is that. Great. Then I hope total time 3 hours. As I said, the round one, and if you qualify for round two, those are 3 hour rounds, and the practice round is 72 hours. That is 3 days. There is no time per test case, as I said, because you are submitting the output file. They are not running a solution on their server. So there is no time per test case. Yeah, 6 minutes exactly. A bit less than 6 minutes, because you have to actually run it before that time. I can you can brute force a little more, but it is very negligible because your laptop at the same time is not as fast as a Codeforces server that it can run 10 per 8 operations per second. But yeah, very close optimizations like O of n can go to O of n log n. Yes, that can happen. That can definitely happen. Yeah. Yes. Thank you for the good wishes. I also hope I get the t-shirt this time. And the same goes for all you guys as well. I hope you perform as par or even better than your expectations. And I hope you like this session. So I think we can close the session for now. Let me close the recording. Stop the recording.